Hi, Tony Kishawi here, and I'm entitling this recording as Creating a Healthy Ensemble in the Classroom. And I'd like to sort of rewind you back to where the starting point of this thinking came about. How did I get here to just summarizing Commedia as creating a healthy ensemble? Well, Commedia, I believe, is ensemble theatre. It's usually, in the history, saying that it's just a troupe of actors getting together. There wasn't really a director, saying, go here, do that. It was something that the actors were creating and making up and performing every performance. They probably did have a group leader, but the idea is that the actors were coming up with the material, they were interacting with the audience, they were coming up with the gags, and then of course that stayed in, so it was an ensemble, traveling in gypsy wagons or whatever. So how do we now teach it? Now I'm going to go back to how it all started. Teachers like Jacques Lecoq, Antonio Fava, Carlo Mazzone-Clementi, and these three, I believe, are the ones who revived Commedia. I think it all started with Jacques Lecoq finding the Donato Sartori mask maker. I think it's the son of the father who had the masks. He had the wood blocks, and Jacques Lecoq commissioned these masks to be made. And so the first Commedia masks made out of leather were appearing. Now, we're talking about the 1950s here, and so then those teachers, those revivalists, went back to their various countries and they were starting to teach Commedia. And of course the history books were reinforcing what the style was and so on, and they, as teachers, were then teaching actors in their international schools. So now we've got these three gurus, and there were some other teachers like Carlo Bosso, the Dell Arte school now, run by Joan Shirley. So what is the right way? What is it? Should we all go back to the masters and say, what is the right way we should teach? Whereas it's not, there's no right way, there's no wrong way. Because when you're talking about performing arts and an art form, is that you can't say, oh, we must do it this way. Otherwise, we're stuck in this very restrictive sort of bubble of saying this is history and we cannot change it. And so we can't stop an artist, a performer, to change the style. So what are the basics that we need to teach in a class in a high school environment? What is the right thing that we should pass on? So we got the stock characters, we got the basic moves, mask work, the technique, which is the walks and the stance of the stock characters, and you've got the bit of history, the origins, and audience repartee. So, and that's where the improvisation comes in. More about that later. So here we are now thinking about what is it that we can teach? What can I pass on if I was running a professional development class, which I have done, and I find the subject way too big to be able to just impart in a professional development lesson with a handful of teachers in 2 hours. So I've been thinking, what is the main thing that we should be passing on for a teacher? Don't squeeze Commedia into just one unit in the middle of a whole year of other units. Teach it from the beginning of the year. Start training. Actors love training, and if you start training the actors at the beginning of every drama class, okay, you do stretching, you do playing warm-up games, but why not do the stretching and the physical practice of the Commedia form? And you can actually put other things in there too, like leBan movements, for example. You could do viewpoints training. It will all come down to training the actor to be a good actor with complicity with other actors. I mean, that's what we do theatre games for. I have been, running exercises to get the best out of students, and I wrote a book on the subject. It's only my lifetime's work, that's all. But one of the things that I find now is that when you do start to work with the masks and start work with the characters, you'll find that the earlier training that you did, like stretching, practicing the walks, balance, viewpoints helps, leBan movements help. All of this has been a lead up to Commedia, and I think that would be the best way to teach Commedia, because it applies to all of our efforts to train the actor. What do they say? An actor's body is their instrument. So let's make sure that the actors in our drama room are training their bodies. I'm going to make this proposal. I'm asking you as teachers, will this work? Only you know your own environment, your situation. I've been a bit spoilt because I get invited to come in as a guest presenter, and I might do a workshop for 2 hours. And you know, I've run my exercises many times, and so therefore they're slick, they're fast, they work, and then I go. And all the kids think, hey, that guy knows what he's talking about. But I really take my hats off to teachers in high school that have to teach all year the same students. I really take my hat off. I don't know whether I could do that. So I'm asking you the question, will this work? So what I'm talking about here is, let me run this very simple beginning, and then I'm hopefully going to create an online course that teachers could adopt. So my very first idea is the ritual of behavior when entering the drama room. So I believe we should make this space sacred in a way that you say to the students whenever they enter that, you know, that the bags go over there or whatever, you know, they try and make sure that the room is prepared. Someone sweeps it. You know, I guess that you do have cleaners in schools. Maybe you open up windows, let some air in or something. There's a ritual. Maybe the rostrum has been left in a particular mess from the last class that was in there. And so as soon as the students come in, they have this sort of idea of the responsibility of what they should do to prepare for work. Also, once the class has started, some teachers were saying to me, well, the kids are not allowed unless the teacher's in the room. So I would imagine that if they're lined up outside, that then the teacher walks in, you know, coffee cup in hand, papers under their arm, and all the kids pile in. That the very first thing they do is they form a circle and start stretching exercises. Now, in the beginning, I've got this idea that the way you get them to think about this as something as positive that they should all be doing is that you break it down and say, okay, you have to do this, you have to do a circle, everybody in, or stretching, and you can get them to do maybe, you know, salute to the sun with the yoga exercise. It's very simple. It gets them to reach to the sky, touch the ground, stretch their bodies a little bit, and then you ask somebody in the group if they know another exercise, another stretching, and some of them will offer, and then another person and another person, and slowly you will start to find the students in your class who are physically aware, you know, that they have actually done this. Maybe dancers are the ones to first put their hands up because they've been doing dance since they were this high, you know, and they know what stretching exercises to do. After a while, when people are trying, I find that the group will self-elect the person who they think is the best person to run the stretching. That's important. The teacher must not choose the person. Otherwise they go, oh, we've got to do what she says because the teacher said. That doesn't work to create a healthy ensemble. A healthy ensemble is where the students start to make decisions for their own health. So there's a process of elimination, of course. People try. But the group will end up deciding who they think is the best person to run the stretching section of their drama class. Now, I'm talking about the very first week. I'm talking about the very first term where the students come in and you're setting up this ritual of behavior. The other added thing to this is that if a student comes in late and the group's already started their stretching and warm up and stuff, they don't say sorry to the teacher. You know, oh, sorry, miss, I had Mr. So-and-so pull me aside and did something, blah, blah, blah. Then they just go and join the activity, whatever's going on. This is not acceptable. You should always get the students to say sorry to the class. And of course, this gets a few laughs the first time you do it. You know, you go, yeah, you're always late, blah, blah, blah. There's a bit of banter goes on. But after a while, you can actually see that the group starts to realize that if this person keeps on coming late, that there's something that the group needs to make a decision saying, well, look, you mustn't let us down. Imagine if we were getting ready for a performance and you come in late. We don't know whether we're going to have to replace you, someone else is going to have to do your lines, blah, blah, blah. You start to realize that the group has a responsibility towards each other. Okay, now that's my very first step. I've got other training ideas that I would love to run past you to see whether you like this idea of mine. And I guess I'd really like to hear your feedback.